Frozen in this moment, the last, and I know it. Think about the winners with hands with the coldest. Think about handout, shit, it's still growing. Think about the world, how we didn't even notice.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Facebook Podcast. It's Cabin Fever. How's everybody doing? Jesus, I hope lockdown comes soon because I need a haircut. Look at the cut of this. Jesus, I think I would have got myself a bit more prepared before I actually went live. You'd think of it anyway, wouldn't you? We are going to be joined by the one and only Mr. Pat Gill. He is the ex-GM of the West Lodge Hotel. We had great crack with him over the years. I can't believe the state of my hair. I would think I would have brushed it before I came on live. But anyway, Pat Gill doesn't have that problem. He's just got a shiny head. So at least one of us will have a decent haircut tonight. But the next time you'll hear him, we'll see if we can get this going. Now, we've had a few problems as always, but if I click this button, we should be joined by the one and only Mr. Pat Gill. Pat, can you hear me, brother? How are you?
I can see you. I can see you well. Me? I can hear you. I can see you.
And wow. On the first phone, we managed to get this one.
Is a disgrace. But anyway, we looked off with it.
How's life?
Very good. Thank God. Very good.
God bless. I heard you got some good news yesterday.
Yes, I've become a grandfather yesterday. Hard to believe. A young-looking fella like me could be a grandfather, but my daughter had a baby boy yesterday.
Baby boy.
His name is Jack.
Jack.
8 pounds. 8 pounds. So I tell you a good story about that. Of course, being a man, you know, and you being a man.
Yeah.
The child arrived anyway, and my son-in-law sent me the text. You're a granddad, baby boy, 13.32. So he didn't send me any more information. So of course I got on to all the people and I said, baby boy, haven't got the name yet, but he weighs 13.32. Well, lads, that was actually the time the child was born, not the weight. So everyone, I got some abuse from the women, especially. Said, "For God's sake!"
Trust you to get that, huh?
I got it arseways there. Anyway, that's it. I should know better. I should know better after 4 kids, shouldn't I? But
anyway. You know what? We're always learning. We're always learning.
I thought it was kilograms or something. I wasn't sure, you know. But anyway,
jeez, that'd be a big fucking baby.
Any man could make that mistake, you know. Fairness. So that was good news.
How is retirement? You're enjoying?
Oh, well, I'm not retired, but this COVID thing has really put everyone into semi-retirement. So it's been an awful challenge to have so much time off. You know, it's unbelievable after all the years that I've worked 7 days a week or 6 days a week, either for myself or for other venues. To have all this time off, it's uncanny, like, you know. But I've become a modern man. I've learned how to. I know now how to turn on the washing machine, and I actually know how to turn on the oven. And I've actually cooked once or twice, and no one's died. So you know, I've become a modern man now. You know what I mean? And I look at Netflix all the time, and I haven't made any sourdough bread or banana bread, but that's probably in the pipeline as well. You know,
that's in the pipeline. And the wife has now realised what she's married with because you're home all the time.
She's sick of me. She just wants me to get a job and get out of the place, you know. She's complaining for the last 30 years I was never at home. Now she's sick of me, you know. So, you know, you can't win, can you?
That's what happens.
You know what I mean? I thought she'd be delighted. I thought she'd be delighted, you know, to see me every day. So I know she's not too happy, but she's getting used to it now. She's getting used to the new world, you know. The new normal, is that what they call it? If I hear that once more, the new normal. We're all in this together, blah, 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 you know? So
we're all in this together unless we're a politician, then we can do what we want.
But it's a very difficult time for everyone in the business, you know what I mean, in hospitality, be it in bars or be it in hotels or entertainment as well, has had an awful... My son now is in the theatre business. He does stage lighting and all that kind of thing. And he's had zero work and no chance of any work now for a long time, you know? So it's been very hard on him. The younger people find it very difficult because they've nothing to do and they can't see any light at the end of the tunnel. So it is very disappointing for them, you know. But hopefully now with the vaccine, things are going to be more positive. And hospitality, hopefully, we'll have a great year. We'll have a great year next year, you know.
Yeah, but I wonder how many people are going to even take it, though. That's the thing. Like, you know, I've heard a lot of this. Like, even, look, I'm 32. I would like to take my chances with COVID, as stupid as this sounds. There's a lot to be said with this vaccine. Like it's been like 6 months and boom, there's a vaccine. And like, I don't know. I think it's going to get to the stage where it's going to be like the chicken pox or something like that, where everybody's going to have it. Now, I'm saying that because I'm an idiot. Like, I'm no medical person at anything at all. I can barely tie my shoelaces.
I think with the vaccine, people are going to have to take treatments. You know what I mean? And it's like an operation. You go in for an operation. Like last year, I had a very serious operation. I went in there, and I just hoped beyond hope they knew what they were doing. You know, and thank God they did. Thank God they did. So with the vaccine, like I do think they're going to have a lot of people who are well known be seen to take it, and it might give the rest of the people more. There's going to be there's always going to be a few non-believers, but you know, at the end of the day, we cannot continue like this. Business cannot continue like this. People's mental health can't continue like the way it's going. Like, it just cannot go on. Like, the government can't keep subsidizing, the PUP payments. Like, it just can't go on. So, like, for common sense sake, people have to take the vaccine, and you know what I mean, and move on. We've got to. Next year has got to be a good year for everyone. You know, so.
Has to be
business-wise. I'm talking about business-wise, you know, but mental health too. People can't be. You can only sit at home so long, you know.
Yeah. Like, as I said, as I saw,
I even notice now, if there's a weed growing in my garden, I know. I know.
And you used to cut the grass just once a year, and you can spot a weed now. Jesus.
Yeah, no, I know where they are. You know, that wasn't there yesterday. Like, that's sad. That's sad, Terence. You know, that's sad. Before now, it could have been a meadow, and I wouldn't have cared.
Wouldn't have even noticed you had grass there, I'd say, no?
Yeah. So no, I'm becoming a sad man. So I need to get back out there. Like, everyone needs to get back out there.
Yeah.
And even people are working in hotels now with masks on and visors, and not being able to converse with people. Like, you know, hospitality is what it's called. It's hospitality. Like, people come in, you have a chat, you know, you have an old, you shake their hand, you know what I mean? It's all about meeting and greeting, and, you know, discussing people about their lives and their friends. And so, you know, if you can't be hospitable in the hospitality business, it really puts it.
Yeah, puts
a funny place. Yeah, like, you can't have weddings. You know, people can't have funerals. You know what I mean? It's really, the whole thing is so sad. You know, like, even my daughter now. We haven't seen my daughter, I don't know for how long. We couldn't see her when she was pregnant. We never saw her pregnant, and she had her child yesterday on her own. Her husband was allowed to join her just at the last minute. And then he had to go home. He had to go home then a couple of hours after. And, like, we will not see that child now till January, probably, if we're lucky.
See, that's the cost of COVID that people don't see. You know,
they don't see that.
You know, and I don't understand why. Like, you can have 15, 20 people at a funeral, but you can't have your husband or your partner or whoever is with you to have a child in a hospital.
Ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. No, I don't care what sense there is. Like, the husband, and, like, they're sleeping in the same bed every night, you know, and then suddenly he can't come into a hospital. Like, that's ridiculous. You know what I mean? Absolutely ridiculous.
You think?
And, like, that's her first child, and, like, she needs the support there.
Yeah.
And even from the man's point of view, he's standing out there in his car in the car park. Like, you know, it's absolutely, and, you know, the rain lashing down, and herself is inside trying to have a child. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's the cost of COVID that we'll never get back. Like, their memories that even, like, you can turn around and go, oh, was mom and dad or was dad at my when I was born? You can't go, no, because he was at COVID, and why? You know, it doesn't make sense. You would think that they would say, okay, there's 2 weeks before your due date or something like that. Get yourself tested. Like, I know things can happen sporadically and stuff like that, but like, even if you isolated yourself or your husband like a week before, like, I still.
There's no reason. There could have been ways to get around it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And, like, it's just, there's no lot. Leave my mother now is in a nursing home, and, like, her brother went to see her today now, up in County Dublin, North County Dublin, Ballybough, and he had to stand outside the window. It's freezing cold. He had to stand outside the window, and he was willing to do that. He had his coat on. He brought a chair, and he was sitting outside the window, and the window was just slightly ajar, so he could hear her and she could hear him, and the nurse came in and closed the window. Like, so they have to talk to each other through the phones. Now, I know they are terrified about getting into nursing homes and everything, but they shouldn't let people come at all if they can't. You know, my mother was terrible obsessed. You know, terrible upset over it. You know? I haven't seen her now, and I haven't been able to go up to see her now in months. Three months now. So, you know, it's these are the real.
These are the real costs.
These are the real costs of the COVID. You know what I mean? It's human. The human cost, like the financial cost, is just incredible. What the airlines have lost, like hotels have lost, like entertainment venues have lost. Like, it's just incredible. And the unemployment and the stress and people who can't pay their mortgages and can't send their kids to school, and like, it's
going to be frightening.
like, I think at some stage someone will have to sit down, maybe just for Ireland and so, and work out what kind of money was lost for the year of COVID. It'll be a very interesting calculation,
Be scary. It'll be
scary.
But then, do you know what really annoyed me? And it kind of puts it into perspective how much money we actually take out of our own country. There was I know it's frightening, but I read there in the Irish Times.
Start doing that.
To COVID, I just learned how to read in COVID.
I learned how to play the guitar. You know what I mean? But there you are. I'm trying to learn Irish as well. So there is positive
already. Like you do like the.
I love the old Irish language. I
know. I wish I could speak it. It annoys me that I couldn't. But I read there that for the same when we came out of lockdown there just in the middle of the summer, and for that sort of 5 or 6 weeks, the 5 or 6 weeks that Irish people were just in Ireland, we were actually ahead financially than that period last year. Just with Irish people spending money in Ireland. Do you know, it's
a great boon, yeah. I wonder about next year, will people, many of them stay in Ireland next year? I'd say half the people who stayed in Ireland this year will go overseas if they can next year. But I still think the hotels will have a great year because they'll have all the backup from the weddings and the functions and the conferences and all, communions, confirmations, all of that. So it'll be a massive year next year if the vaccine comes in, And then you'll have a certain amount of tourists who will come as well. So, it'll be a good year.
But then there's only one, you can only, what was your saying? You can only fill the room once, or
yes? You can only 100% is 100%. That's it.
You can't fill yesterday's room, wasn't that what it?
Yeah, well, no, a room unsold tonight is unsold forever. Right, that is the most famous saying in the hotel business.
That's a good saying, though. It is a great saying.
No, that's everyone in the hotel business knows that. Most front desk staff know. A room unsold tonight is unsold forever. So if a guy walks in and your room is €50 and you've got 20 rooms empty, and he says, I'll give you 40, and he walks out the door. You've lost that room forever. You know what I mean? So that's the sense.
It makes sense. There's no.
But all those rooms that were all these years' budgets, this year's budgets for hotels are just out the window. Forget about it. It's survival now. Survival is what it's all about now.
Yeah. Just getting through. So how did you get stuck in? How did Mr. Pat Gill become Mr. Pat Gill? How did you just start off as Patrick Gill and become Mr. Pat Gill? How did that all come about?
Well, my mother and father got together, and they did the business, and I was born there I was born in Australia, actually, would you believe? My mother and father went to England, and they went out on the ship, out in the boat, out to Australia. They were looking for couples to go out back in the 50s. And my mother and father went out in the boat, and they had 5 boys out there. And after 7 years, my mother was very, very lonely. She had 5 in a row, just like the Dubs. 5 in a row. 5 sons in a row. But she wanted to come home then because she was very lonely and she missed her family. So after 7 years, we came back on another boat. It took 7 weeks. And we moved to Glasnevin, the dead centre of Dublin. You know what I mean? You got the joke there, the dead centre of Dublin. And that's where my granny lived there in Talca Estate in Glasnevin. And after a year of having us in Granny's house and Annie, which is my mother, and 5 lads and all her kids, it got a bit tense, as the man might say. So we went out to Donabate, which is in North County Dublin, on a holiday in a caravan. And we loved it out there. And eventually, that's where we stayed. We settled then in Portrane, North County Dublin.
Jesus.
And we were dragged up in North County Dublin. And we then my father came home eventually after his troubles and all the working he had to do out there. And we went to boarding school because he felt that the mother couldn't cope with us, you know what I mean? 5 young lads tearing around the place.
He needed to be fucking straight and notice.
And so we went to Killashee boarding school, and then we went on to Newbridge College in secondary school. And after I finished all that, you'd be looking for what you're going to do with your life. And I was at home. I was that summer before, at the end of my college days, I was at home, and the uncle said, "Will you come in and do a bit of electrician work with me?" But the other Pat Gill, he's a famous Pat Gill now. He's a good golfer, this fella, my uncle. And I went in with him, and he was an electrician. And he said to me, will you come out and give me a hand? So I said, no problem. You know what I mean? And I did a couple of months with him. He said I wasn't a very good electrician, so he wasn't looking to keep me on or anything. So I was home in bed one morning, and the mother came up the stairs, as she does. Said, Patrick, she says, I've got an interview for you in Cattle Brewer Street. And I said, where the hell is Cattle? It's a hotel college. Get up there now and go in. So in I went, and that's where it all started.
That's where it all started.
Yeah, and the first question they asked me in the interview was, how many hotels in Dublin did you know? And me being a typical North South, I only knew one, the Gresham. That's all I knew. The Gresham. But I still got the place. And then the next year I worked in a mental hospital in the kitchens in Portrane, doing kitchen porter, pot washing. Yeah. So that's where the catering career, very glamorous start. But I did the course then in Cattle Brewer Street for 3 years. And then my first job was a junior duty manager in the Three Lakes Hotel in Killarney, which is now the Plaza Hotel.
The Plaza Hotel. Jesus.
And during that time in college, I met my beloved wife, Joan, who's from Tralee. We won't hold that against her, you know what I mean?
No.
She's from Tralee.
We know 30 people in Dublin this year.
Yeah, we won't go there now. We won't go there. Don't start up the war. But Joan got a job in the Mount Brandon in Tralee, and I was working in Killarney. And after 3 years of working in Killarney, we got engaged and we went off to Australia. Ah. So I went off to Australia and I went working on the building sites over there, which because I couldn't get a job in hotels. I thought I'd walk into a job in hotels. But I couldn't get one because I was a foreigner, as they say. Yeah. And on the building sites, hated that. It was so hot and it was tough work, like these little sensitive hands weren't really able for that, So after about 6 months of that, I eventually got a job in a restaurant supervisor in a country townhouse in Sydney. And then about 6 months later, I got a job as a duty manager in the old Sydney Inn, which was kind of a 5-star property, and it was fabulous. It was fabulous. Yeah. And then I had one more job there in the Wynyard Travelodge, which was a 250-bedroom hotel right in the city centre, doing food and beverage management. So that was it. We got lonely then. And we wanted to come home. I always wanted to come home. I didn't want to stay out there, even though I had an Aussie passport and everything. So we came home in 87. Everyone else was leaving the country. We were coming home. I said, "Jeez, there's something wrong here, I said, we're after getting this wrong, Yeah. So anyway, we did everything arseways, yeah. And so we got into, came back to Tralee then, and I was working as food and beverage manager in the Mount Brandon Hotel in Tralee. And my wife was doing front desk. And then they're not boring you now, am I? No. The next time, then the first job I got as general manager then was up in Kilkenny in the Spring Hill Hotel in Kilkenny. So I left Tralee, went up to Kilkenny to Spring Hill Hotel, which is like a mini West Lodge or a mini Glen Eagle. It had a ballroom, it had a leisure club, it had a nightclub, it had 45 bedrooms. It was on the edge of the town, every bit of local business. But you know what it had? It had a cabaret, which I'd never seen before. It had a band called the Aces.
Yeah.
The Aces, and they used to do a supper cabaret. This is where the supper club all came from.
This is where the supper club came from.
So we used to have dinner, serve it to the clients, and then we'd have background music during the meal, and then this band called the Aces would come on for dancing. Oh, it was a hit. You'd have 200 or 300 every Saturday night. It was magnificent.
Jesus. You'd
have the nightclub going for the young crowd, and then you'd have the cabaret for the older crowd. So you're mixing. You're looking after everyone. So. And that hotel did about 80, 90 weddings a year. So it was a magnificent place. And so we loved it there. But unfortunately, the hotel was sold after about 4 years, and the owner then wanted to kind of run it himself. So I had to vacate the property, as you'd say. And I moved back to Killarney to the Evanston House in Killarney, which is a well-known nightclub as well and big hotel. And I opened a restaurant there called Caffuccino's, it was kind of a burger restaurant. That went very well. And I was only there about a year and a half, and the Glen Eagle rang me one morning, and they knew that I was kind of finishing up in the Evanston House because it closes every winter. Yeah. Would I be interested in a job as manager out there? And I said, "Holy God, Glen Eagle!" So I went out anyway, and it was in a bad state at the time. The Glen Eagle, it was at a crossroads really. The hotel was at a crossroads. So I went out there, and I was nervous going out there because it's such a big property. But it went fantastic. We worked day and night at it, and the O'Donoghue family there. I worked with the young Patrick O'Donoghue. He runs the place now, but he was working with me there on the management team. and we set up a proper structure. We set up cost controls and entertainment. They had there already. They had a great reputation for entertainment. The hotel side was very rough, but now it's turned into a magnificent place. Now
Now it's a coliseum.
and that's where I got all my training about entertainment and about getting business in. They have the best setup in Ireland for getting business. They don't worry about what they have; they worry about what they haven't. They go through the calendar of events, which I used to be always talking to you about. That weekend is empty. We need to do something. This one is full. Forget about that. We'll move on. Next step. So you have something on all year.
You have to keep. Yeah, it's much the same. Like there's no point having an empty room.
And like the eight weeks in the middle of the season, you don't worry about because you're going to be busy then anyway. So it's the show. It's the early season, the late season, and then you've got to get bedrooms in. If you put on events, try and get bedrooms with it. And if you have bedrooms, people will eat and they'll have drinks. And you do a late bar, then you kind of draw as much revenue as you can out of it. So that's the plan. And that's where I learned that plan. It's in the Glen Eagle. And when I came to the West Lodge in Bantry, it was the very same plan.
Yeah.
It was the very same. It did the very same thing. And it works. People, when they go away, they want to have something to do,
Yeah.
Like West Cork is beautiful, but there's only so many people who come down just to look at the scenery. And if it's lashing rain, that's not much good to you, is it? And in the middle of the winter, so you need to have something on. You know what I mean? So you build up your wedding business, and then you build up your event business, and between them all, you have a good turnover. You become profitable.
Yeah, you
employ a lot of people. The local people are happy because they're seeing big acts. You know what I mean? The local people, they get belief in the hotel and say, look at places flying. So that's how you build it up. So that was it.
You get big time like me, huh?
So I love the entertainment. I love that. But that was really came from the Glen Eagle. But I've always loved country music as well.
Yeah.
So I've always loved that. And that's. But the real reason for doing the events was really trying to drag in some business. Like I did darts. Like you think of all the things we did there in the West Lodge: the outdoor cinemas, the darts, the line dancing, the set dancing, the ballroom dancing. You know what I mean? Any fella that could move a leg, we try and get an event around it.
Yeah, and we did.
And like Johnny O'Shea and all the boys down there, they were great help in doing all the darts tournaments and anything at all. Anything, even a pool tournament. We were trying to organise a pool tournament. Like anything that people would gather for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was the Glen Eagle's strength. That's the Glen Eagle's strength. They have so many different events going on all the time. And it's not for the good of their health. They're doing it. They're doing it for business. It's about increasing the reputation of the property plus bringing in business. So that's what it's all about,
And if you have,
I really enjoyed it. It makes it very interesting as well when you have different things. You think of all the big names: the Nathan Carters, the Derek Ryans, the Lisa McHughes, Christy Moore, Mary Black. You know what I mean? The Three Amigos. Like we had them all. We had them all. Mike Denvers, Michael English.
And
they all didn't do great, but overall they did. It was a massive plus. A massive plus. And it brought the hotel out of you know what I mean. It was nearly gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the biggest thing that made it work, and your part of that, was the Old XS Nightclub. You know what I mean?
That was two cowboys really pulling at it, wasn't it? Really, in fairness, like.
Yeah, but and I really was anti-nightclub really because I had when I was in Kilkenny, we had so much hassle in the nightclub we had there at Da Vinci's. So much hassle.
Yeah.
And I said, look, I'm done with that. Like it's a nightmarish business, it's a hairy business. But with the we had nothing else in Bantry at that time, and locals were saying, open up a nightclub. The young crowd have nothing to do. Like that's grand to say that, but it's all the things that could go wrong that I was thinking about, But we had no other business. We had no functions. We had no weddings. So we needed it for cash flow, and we said we'd give it a rumble. You came on board. We launched it. The name was good. XS. The whole thing the vibe was good. And people really supported it. So it was good while it lasted. But when it went, it was time for it to go because we were beginning to get more business then, So
it ran its course.
Yeah, it ran its course. But it was great when it lasted. It really was.
I still remember the very first night we were inside there. We were scratching our heads up till about 10 to 11. We were going.
Thanking. Yeah.
We were wondering.
I was convinced because I remember Laura Mahoney. I hope she won't mind me mentioning. She was the marketing manager, and she kind of persuaded me to do it. And I was saying, God Almighty, no one's going to come. We had buses on, we had security on, we had a bar exemption. God, I said, if this goes wrong, what am I going to say on Monday morning? But next thing, they started coming and coming and coming. And the first night, the bar service there was atrocious. We weren't ready for it at all. So we had to apologize on Facebook that night about the bar service. But we got it right the next few nights.
You were just stopping the flow of the bar all the time.
When they saw me coming behind the bar staff said, that's it, we're out of here, you know. I said to them, I can do Heineken and I can do Jameson and ginger, but that's all I'm doing, you know.
That was it.
Yeah, but I remember Martine O'Brien was behind the bar at the time. I said, Martine, will you get that from? Will you get that? Will you leave me to my own drinks? She was cracking up. I was in the way. But my intentions were good, like, you know.
The intentions were good, yeah. But
But the next year, I think the next week, we were so organised the next week. And another famous night that you were involved in too was the night of the darts competition, where we decided that the nightclub couldn't stop, that the darts would finish at 9:30 and we'd be ready at 10:30 to open. Of course, the darts went on until 11:15, and you were on the stage trying to set up, and the buses were full of people driving around Pantry. and Mick Cremin was ringing me every minute saying, Pat, can we let them in yet? Oh my God, I tell you. That was a good laugh.
That was a real sweaty bum moment, really, to be fair to it. Like,
but that's entertainment. Entertainment is a hairy business. And we got away that nightclub. We had a few old fracas, all right. But, you know, we had huge nights there with J90. They were magnificent nights, you know what I mean? And the turnover was magnificent. But, you know, for a hotel long term, having a nightclub is not a good idea because it takes away from the, you know, if you have family staying and things like that, the two don't match. But, you know, at the time it suited, you know.
It did its job for what it was, you know what I mean? Like, and it really was just us two sort of pulling and just seeing what happened. And
but you know, the word, it was great for the hotel. The word was out. Jeez, the place is packed. You know, at least there's life back in the place. You know what I mean? So
that was
good. That was good.
It did its job, and we had the darts, and I swear to God,
an ugly girl. That great song, ugly heart. You know, I love that song. You know what I mean?
You know what? I'm gonna. The day you die, I'll play that at your funeral. Just one last time.
I hope you do.
As you lower you into the ground, I'll be playing that for you.
That's it. I think that's the one.
Haunted with that song. Absolutely haunted. You still do. Even when I was doing the kiddies discos, you would pop up and I go, "Oh Jesus, wait for it now," and it would come up ugly hard. Yeah, that was it. You know what I mean? But
it was
unbelievable.
That's the way entertainment was very strong there, but obviously they've suffered terribly now this year. Like the bands. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't know how they're surviving. You know what I mean? It's like it's going to be. I don't know. If the vaccine comes, it could be the middle of next year before they're back on the road again. You know?
Yeah. I don't even know what. Like I've lost 40 weddings this year. That's just
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And like I'm not big time. Like I'm not. Yeah. I'm like really semi-retired now at this stage when it comes to DJing. But it's like the big bands, the bands that be gigging Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Can you imagine the bands out, the big wedding bands, you know, like what's that one, the Bog the Donkey and bands like that, they've lost. No, they broke my heart. Yeah, but you know, there's loads of them. You know, the bands like J92 that do a serious amount of weddings, you know, and there's
weddings is their business. Like they do the pub gigs and the sideline gigs just to fill their week, whereas weddings is their bread and butter.
Oh, that's just their bread and butter. Yeah.
It's done. Do you know, like they just forget about 2020, absolutely forget about it. And even 2021, there's certain bands that are not taking bookings right now because they don't want deposits. They don't want the coming and going of whether they'll be there or whether they won't be there. Or
I think the vaccine will. I think the latter end, say from March, maybe April next year, I think things will be solid enough. I think, you know, I would hope so. You know what I mean? And I think the hotels will get a good hit on the function end of things. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because there's been such a backup in people trying to have functions. You know, so you know what I mean. Hopefully things will be good for the hospitality business going forward. You know. Yeah,
hopefully, and we can get all the entertainment back. We can get the young people back shifting. That was one of the TDs.
That's it.
All these young people are missing the shift, huh?
I think I was trying to explain when it came to Pantry and even to your good self, because you're a young fella. You know what I mean? The slow set. The whole idea of the slow set. How does boy meet girl in the modern world? I remember the girl on C103, she was interviewing me, she thought it was hilarious, you know. Can't remember the journalist's name. She said, Pat, do you want to bring back the slow shift? The slow set. It's not slow shift, it's slow set. This is how boy meets girl in my time. Now, how does boy meet girl now? You know, you can go into Snapchat and TikTok, but you don't actually physically meet a girl on TikTok. You know what I mean? She can do a dance for you. She can do this and hilarious. But you know what I mean? You're not going to marry someone out of that, are you? So how does boy meet? How does boy meet girl now? That's it. Is it house parties?
I don't know. Like right
like
now,
the slow set was a disciplined way of boy meeting girl. You know what I mean?
Keep the distance.
Keep the distance. Like socially distance, of course, it won't work. You know what I mean? But you know, the modern snowflakes or millennials or the G generation, as they call themselves now, they'll have to come up with a new idea of how boy meets girl. And every generation probably has the same problem. You know, in the old days, it was the ballrooms. All the girls would sit on one side and all the boys would sit on one, and they'd all run over and meet each other. You know what I mean? Then the discos. Then it was a little bit more. It wasn't as bad as that. You know. But you know, just that's the challenge for the new generation. How does boy meet girl? You know,
if we don't have boy meeting girl, we don't have a generation.
That's it. Know? Generation stop. Yeah. With COVID-19 too. Fairness. You know what I mean? Couples have not been able to meet, you know what I mean, and boyfriend can't beat girlfriend, and you can't get a girlfriend. How do you get a girlfriend now? Online? But you know, it's not the same, is it?
No, it's not the same. You can only text so many times a day, Pat. You can't be texting.
Yeah. I love you. Yeah, you hang up. No, I hang up. You hang up. You know all this crack that goes on. You know. Anyway,
you know, thank God I'm my age now, huh?
Yeah, but I think the slow set, you know, it used to be good. It gave a man or a woman an opportunity to pick out someone that they liked. And like you weren't stuck for life. At the end of the night, if you didn't like them, you just dropped them and walked away, and that was it. You know, no one, everyone knew the rules. You know, everyone knew the rules.
It was all above board. That was it. Everybody knew what they were getting into.
Exactly. They were the rules of the game back then. Fado.
Fado. Yeah, that we used to have a festival, Fado in Pantry as well.
That's right. Yeah.
Were you there at that time when that happened?
No, I remember it. I was just on the early days. I remember it. When I visited the Pantry quite a few times before I actually started working there, and I remember one time I was down there that was on. That's a nice kind of a festival, you know.
Yeah.
And the one then they had with the pirates, you know, with the ships, that was lovely. The town looked great for that. You know what I mean?
I brought them ships into the town, into the square. I knew a guy that had them, brought them down. It was absolutely bonkers. It was a weekend. I actually brought them down the weekend I opened the Cozy at that time.
Yeah, but Pantry has a great history of festivals. You know, where they had the Mussel Festival. Like that was a big gig. You know,
you can make your year's worth of money at that gig. Like that was bonkers. I remember it, like pubs still being open at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Mussel Fair weekend, like it was just bonkers.
Like there is potential in Pantry for that to happen again. Like a venue like the Airfield, if you get proper access to it for a really big gig down there, you know what I mean? But you know what I mean? It's there is potential. You know, probably the Mussel Fair with all the traffic laws now, compliancy and health and safety, and that you couldn't do it in the square again there. But you know, there is other options. There's Pantry House, just the grounds of the West Lodge, just the Airfield. Like there's loads of locations in Pantry where you could do it. You know.
Yeah.
You know,
it's just
if those days, you know. Those events have to be kind of socially acceptable too. You don't want to bring trouble into the town either. Like, you know what I mean? You want to bring in nice festivals if possible. Like, you know.
Yeah, and that's the problem. You've got so many things that come with the festivals nowadays that are just like if you've put it out on the airstrip, you've got to worry about security. Then you've got to worry about like the simple things, toilets, hot water, that type of shit. You know what I mean?
It is. Yeah, but they do it. They do it in bloody money. You go all there for an EP every year. You know, electric picnic. Like if you think of all the locations in the world, you put a 100,000 festival, it wouldn't be there. You know what I mean? Like there's no roads big enough to drive a tractor down. That's all they have down there. Like or Slane Castle. Like look at Slane Castle.
Yeah, it's
literally that's a very bad location for a big festival.
Yeah.
Like all you have to think is you can do it and you'll do it. You know, and like Pantry got a lot more going for it than some of these places. You know, so.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely.
I would not. You see the Pantry agricultural show there every year that the Pantry Danny Collins and all the lads put on down there. Jeez, that's a magnificent event, you know. And I'm not a farming type, but I went down there a few years. I was amazed at the setup, you know. Great setup.
Yeah. Oh, hold on, we've got Martina Wiseman coming in saying hello, Pat.
Oh, so how was she doing?
Martina Wiseman in Miss Pantry. We had that inside the West Lodge as well. Remember that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, great. That's a great event, but that's another great event. You know what I mean? Every year, that generates business. and gives the young girls a chance to get dressed up and have a good night, you know. And it's very good. But any girl that ever went for Miss Pantry, it's very good for the CV and for the confidence and public speaking. And you know what I mean? It's a hard thing to do, but I think it's very beneficial to them, you know. And it's a very glamorous event too. It's a very glamorous event for a venue to have as well. So you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I enjoyed those nights. I enjoyed those nights.
But I always like talking to the girls before the show, and like they'd be always very, very nervous, and I'd be like, look, the hardest part is walking out the first time. After that it's easy. You know, once you walk out the first time, that's it. You've done it. Yeah. You know, as the saying goes, you popped your cherry, you've walked out, your job's done. And they used to always say, oh, no, it's going to be hard every time. And then at halftime then, or when there'd be a break, like you'd see them coming in, because I'd be behind the curtain and stuff like that, getting names and stuff like that, probably fighting with my Martina most of the times. But we would get it, and I'd be asking the girls, you know, how are you getting on now? Are you okay? Is this and this and this? And they'd like, yeah, you were right, Terence. The first time it was hard, but after that it was so much easier. And it builds so much confidence in the girls to do it all. And now we've got Mr. Pantry, so the fellas were doing it as well this year. The fellas wouldn't be as nervous as the ladies, I suppose, but like the girls are just, every time they turn around, they say, yeah, it was the first time, that was the hardest time. After that, it was sailing through. And I still get stopped in the street and people are saying, yeah, I was delighted we did it. It brought out the best in all the girls. Even their parents were saying that it brought out the best in the girls at the time.
Yeah, great night too for that. Great night for the girls' family. So you know what I mean, where the grandmother and the mothers and the aunties and can all get dressed up and come in and have a good night, you know. So I know, I think it's a lovely event. Still, it's like the Rose of Tralee, you know. Like I know personal experience in Tralee, my wise, like the people at Tralee just love the Rose of Tralee. You know what I mean? I know it gets slated by a lot of people, but in Tralee, the Rose of Tralee is very important. You get the little mini roses and young girls, and they're aspiring to be roses, and they meet all the roses, and you know, it's a great experience, great atmosphere around the town too, you know. So that's what you're trying to create.
But the thing that sells that is the fact that the people are behind it.
That's
like the whole of Tralee gets behind that weekend. I remember DJing down there.
But it's family. It's a family event too. If you keep Miss Pantry, if you make Miss Pantry kind of a family affair where the mothers and the aunties and the grannies and all get behind the girls, that's lovely. You know, that's lovely. That's what you want, you know.
You get everyone.
Like even the redheads. I was very disappointed the redheads thing never took off. My Red Fest. That was one thing. Like the girl who did that, Joanne Cronin in Castle Haven, they did that first, and it was massive over there, you know. But it's a pity that didn't take off, because I think that's a great festival from a tourism point of view as well.
If there was one.
If there was ever an Irish one, yeah, but that's one that should be kept going if possible. You know what I mean? But you know, you have to try everything. Some things don't work, and some things do work. But it doesn't work if people don't get behind it. So, you know, the redheads have to get behind it, otherwise it doesn't work, like, you know.
Well, yeah. But you think, even saying that now, saying the whole sort of new generation stuff like that, do you think the whole going out, dinner, dance, the whole lot is dead now? Do you think it's just, there's just no interest in this generation coming up, going for the traditional dinner dance type thing?
No, I think there's definitely changes, just big changes. We'll have, who's ever in the entertainment business now, and like I'm probably getting on a bit now, but you've got to figure out what ticks the boxes now of the younger set. What do they want to do? You know what I mean? Where do they want to go? I think the old day of going out to dinner and going out to disco after that, disco's probably a thing of the past. I think what you see now is more music venues, and they might have a disco to finish. But I think the day of the big disco, I think probably is gone now. You can't get insurance for them anyway. You know what I mean? They're an insurance nightmare. So I think a day of a controlled gig, and you might have a disco to finish, or a nightclub nearby, something like that. People still like to dance. People love to dance. Yeah. Depends what type of dancing you're into. You know what I mean? If you're older, obviously you're into more ballroom dancing, or, you know, waltzing and all that kind of crack. But if you're young, you like go disco dancing. But you know what I mean? The way it was done over the years has died now. So there's going to be a new form of entertainment. But you know, it's very important to try and, if you're in the hotel business or in the entertainment business, you have to be up with the trends, you know. So otherwise,
we're all going to be scratching our head come the 1st of January this year to see what will work and what won't work.
Yeah. You know? And will the Nathan Carters and the Derek Ryans will that still drag in the same amount of business as it did before? You don't know. You don't know.
because that's the type of age group that would be fairly riskable of being there. Like, the ones like the Nathan Carter and all them type fellas, they go for the sort of, we say, the more elderly of the community. Like, they won't be as easy to drag in 600 or 700 of them anymore. Like,
no, probably not. Well, until confidence in the vaccine is got, you know what I mean. There'll have to be confidence in the vaccine, and that'll take longer with the older age group, But it definitely is a challenge now going forward of trying to set entertainment to see what works. But you might get more kind of niche artists doing little smaller gigs, more intimate gigs. You know what I mean? Acoustic clubs and things like that.
You must have a wedding story somewhere in the history of your books there. If you dig deep inside the back of your head there, you have to have a funny wedding story. With the amount of, how many weddings do you think you've done?
Thousands and thousands. Literally thousands. Between the Spring Hill Hotel in Kilkenny, between Darby O'Gill's in Killarney, between the Glen Eagle in Killarney, the Everston House, the West Lodge, I've done thousands of weddings.
Has there ever been one where everything's just gone absolutely tits up?
There's been a good few of them which have been hairy enough, like good old Hollywood, the punter never sees it. But there's been. I can tell you one funny story. This is only one now. Up in the Spring Hill, we used to do about 4 weddings a week. And of course, the front desk staff were trying to be very organised, so we'd have all the menus for the week. Menu for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and Bank Holiday Monday. So the girl decided, and best will in the world, said, "I'm going to type up all the menus, have them all ready for all the weddings." So that's a great idea. So she put the elastic band around. That's Friday, and that's Saturday, and that's Sunday, and that's Monday. That's grand. And so we're setting up the ballroom. Of course, in comes the guy. The girl set up the wedding, and she comes in and she looks. She takes a bundle. She puts them all around the tables. I used to just arrive in then, I used to always have my assistant manager, Sean Bateman. He was an older man, but he used to always have the couple's name written on his hand. But he was off this day, so anyway, I came in just as the people were just going to sit down at the top table, and I took up the menu and it said Mary and Jack or whatever it was, and they sat down. I said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you all enjoy your day. You're all very welcome here at the Spring Hill Hotel, blah, blah, blah. And our heartiest congratulations. We wish them all the best in their life, to Mary and Jack." And next thing, the mother pulls my arm. My girl's name is Susan. Susan and John. So what happened was the wrong menus went on the table. It was the day after. We had the wrong day on the disaster. That was bad. So that was quite embarrassing. But can you imagine if they had taken the order and the orders had gone into the kitchen? The kitchen wouldn't have been ready at all, because they would have been. Oh, stop. So there are things. Another day I was at a wedding in Spring Hill, and I was walking over towards the cake, and the cake fell right down on the floor in front of me. And that was before the girl came in. So we had to pick it up and bring it into the kitchen and try. You should have seen us now trying to get it looking decent again. And I came in, and in the end, I was so terrified. I went out to the bride. She was in the bar at the time. So it was a small little accident with the cake. It fell. And another one now, another one to have a heart attack. She'd go bananas. But she came in and she looked at, "Yeah, that's grand. Fine. Well done. Thanks, Pat." And out she went again, cool as a breeze.
So you dodged that bullet anyway.
I'll tell you, but another girl could have went bananas. And what would she have said? No excuse. No excuse. It wasn't my fault it fell. But we shouldn't have put it up. So from that day, we never put the top 2 tiers on the cake until the people are in the room or when they're coming in. Because that's why. Because if you do, something could happen,
Yeah.
There was a day in the West Lodge, we had a cake, a chocolate cake. It was one of these fancy French style cakes. Mm-hmm. And it was a very warm day, believe it or not. We had a warm day down there. And Breed said to me, the girl with Breed Coughlin, she said, this very strong smell of chocolate, Pat. I don't know about that cake. Because I said, Breed, don't be worrying, it'll be fine. But geez, it got worse and worse. And next thing, I thought it was going to start sliding off the table. So Breed was right. We shouldn't have put it up. So,
yeah, that happens. It happens.
But they're the kind of small things that can go wrong.
I think I was at that wedding. I think I did that.
Could have been.
I did that wedding.
You could have been.
I seem to remember that cake story. All right, to be fair.
Yeah. And I remember another years ago when I was training in Killiney, in the Killiney court, when I was working there, the chefs used to do lunch, and then to go off, and they were supposed to turn on the ovens for the beef and come back then later on for the wedding. course, they went off, never turned on the bloody ovens. Oh my God, disaster. People are waiting for hours for dinner then, you know.
And that's the one thing. And like I say to everybody about the wedding, it's a day about them, but it's got absolutely nothing to do with them, because it doesn't matter. They're going to have a great day anyway, please God. But like they'll be hearing about absolutely everything. They'll hear about if the fucking beef is dry or if the fish is overcooked. And it's like,
no matter how many weddings I do, I'd be dead nervous before every wedding. And like any staff in the West Lodge will tell you that. I'd be like a lunatic before the weddings. You know, I'd be just saying, lads, have we got this done? Is this done? Is that done? Because you can get complacent. Because the last three have went well. That doesn't mean that this one is going to go well. You know what I mean? So you have to be nervous. If you're not nervous before a wedding, there's something wrong with you. You know, I'm telling you now.
Yeah.
So,
many a time you brought me out to fix that microphone 5 minutes before guests come out.
Bloody microphone. I reckon you banjacks then. There's nothing worse when you stand up behind the top table and you just go, ladies and gentlemen, you're all. Yeah. Oh my God, jeez,
but
it's a nightmare.
You broke my heart with them mics. The amount of time I'd have to come out and set everything up, and then you'd still manage to switch one part of it off. And
but anyone doing weddings tell you, microphones are always very dodgy. Years ago, we had one in the Three Lakes, an old box behind it, and it used to screech. I tell you, it was just chronic, you know.
But that's the problem with microphones. You can't like as soon as you go live, you go live. There's no coming back from it, and that is the problem with mics. And like you come into it, and you can test mics to beat the band. You can do absolutely everything. Like you can do your 1-2, you can do your check, you can do all this, and then as soon as you want to go live, you think you have everything. Boom. Someone has a phone on that's close to it that cuts out the signal.
Or the photographers stick something on the side of it because they're doing a video or something.
Yeah.
And we got cute in the West Lodge in the end. We had one behind the curtain, a landline was plugged into. Yeah. And if the other thing didn't work, I just dropped it and went straight to that. And that was the only way. You had to have a plan B, because we got caught so many times.
Yeah.
I remember Brenda Hooran. Brenda Hooran that got married in the West Lodge. Her wedding anyway was hilarious. The song was Simply the Best, you know. And Ashley, who was working with me at the time, she was supposed to put it on. And so as Brenda came in there, and all the way heard was Simply the Best. And then she was walking by me, sitting down, and she said to me, I said, I'll never forget it, was hilarious. I said, thanks a million for that, Pat. That was excellent. Oh, God. Well, we were laughing about it afterwards, but she was a great laugh. It was wrong. It was too far away. The top table was down at the stage, and you couldn't. But you only find out these things when.
That was the one thing that always annoyed me about the West Lodge, the placement of the top table, because like you had to have everything hidden, and like if you like the West Lodge is so big and it's such a dead zone because you've got off to the left where the bar goes, and like that just sucks up all of the sound. And like if you have it shout, like I remember doing communions and stuff like that where you'd have like 4 tables in the front of the stage, and like you're trying to entertain all the ones at the very, very back of the stage as well. And it was just criminal. Like they'd be giving out
microphones.
Too loud.
Microphones are my pet hate. Oh jeez, I dread them. I dread them. Especially if you're doing any sort of a speech. It always seems to work great when you're doing the test. No problem. But Jesus Christ, when the people are in the hall. Or the other big thing with weddings anywhere too is when they want to do a video from overseas. From some of their friends.
The projectors.
God. Yeah. Because they're hard to be in your mouth. You'd be sweating.
Yeah, everything would be working fine.
And you'd be standing there, and the bride would just look at me, from, why is it not working, Pat? I said, God, I don't know. I remember once it was because the battery ran out. The laptop, it was their laptop.
It was their laptop. I remember that too.
And no one could figure out what it was. And I remember Thomas was working. He said, Pat, I think it's out of power. I said, for God's sake! So we plugged it in, and it worked. Then there's all these things, and anything can go wrong in entertainment. It's a hairy business,
Yeah, it's happened to me a couple of times on this where I've lost. Like I did a podcast there 3 weeks ago, where the Wi-Fi went completely down. The server of the actual company I was getting it from, Imagine, went down in Dublin, and they lost all Wi-Fi connection all over Ireland, and I couldn't get back into it. Poor Liz had to actually host my podcast on her own, and I was just frozen to the side like this for 20 minutes. I couldn't even get back into it on my phone. I had to text her to tell her that I wasn't being part of the podcast anymore. I'd have to reschedule it. And she was live on everything was going out on our YouTube, on our Twitter, on absolutely everything.
No,
Terence was just like this to one side, and she was hosting everything, and she managed to host the whole thing with herself for about 20 minutes afterwards, answering questions. She was fantastic, but I just it was life. You couldn't do nothing about it. It was just one of them things, and it just went boom, and you had to just survive.
you just have to go along with it and hopefully get out of it, But I suppose most lads now in that business, in the mic business, they always have a backup. They have a backup. You know what I mean? Because there's always a chance, especially with the bands on the road. Like there's always a chance that the mics won't go right. You know what I mean? And so it's you have to be ready for the unexpected. I suppose that's it.
Well,
that's part of the business.
And the unexpected always happens, Pat. Always happens. And that's the worst thing. You can never imagine the big bands getting anything wrong because they have, as you said, 4 or 5 of the mics to keep everything going.
Yeah, they can't afford it. They can't. If you have a full hall, I remember the night we had Lisa McHugh on there 3 years ago, and whatever was wrong, the power they had up on the stage, it was blowing our fuses, And God, only for Patrick O'Donovan came in, you know what I mean, and saved the day. Himself and Tim Young had to go out and rejig it.
Yeah,
like there was a huge crowd there, and her sound system was too strong.
Yeah,
and it was dragging it down. So, and that actually affected all the ventilation in the place and everything. The place was hot, and there was smoke everywhere. I said, "Holy God!" Like, you wouldn't be the better of it. You wouldn't be the better of a night like that. But once it started going again, people loved the night. You know what I mean? But Lisa McHugh was really professional. She just went along with it.
Yeah.
I don't know, can you hear me or not? But look, I hope you're enjoying your night.
But on the other side of that, then too, you have to. There's no other way, but you have to just sort of swing with the punches and go with it. Everything can go tits up at one stage or another. You can just lose absolutely everything, and it just go boom.
The best laid plans. You know what I mean? Look at with COVID, all the plans were made for this year, and bang.
Yep.
People with excellent jobs, airlines, no business, everyone laid off. You know what I mean? How could you register for that? You couldn't take that into account, So
no, not at all. I will say one thing though. After all the guests that you had, all the entertainment you had inside the West Lodge, you always got a picture with them, bar me. You never got a picture with me.
I know you're kind of upset over that. Yeah.
I took that to heart.
Well, no, on behalf of the county board and all the other boards, I do apologise publicly here for that. You know what I mean? But a lot of the artists I was getting pictures were a lot better looking than you.
They were, yeah.
And like those pictures they were for promotional purposes. It was for business. You know what I mean? Even though a lot of people who were taking the pictures said I was just into the women, but I wasn't. You know what I mean? It was all for business.
Only. Promotional.
No, but promotion. I think but seriously, on that event, if you have an artist there, it's important to get a picture with them. Not necessarily me, but someone from the property, and put it up on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, wherever you can, because that's free that's free advertising. People say, "Oh, there's Pat Gill. God, there's Christy Moore. God, was he at the West Lodge? God, I must go to the West Lodge. I must go here." You know what I mean? Yeah. It's all about promotion, not self-promotion. It's about promotion of the venue. The venue is getting free advertising.
Mm-hmm. And
free advertising. So that's what you want.
All the money I made in excess, I didn't get one picture by. Not one.
You've got your legacy. You've got your legacy. You know what I mean?
Legacy.
You know what I mean? You made it work. You know what I mean? You can't lodge that, says you. Legacy. You can't lodge your legacy. You can't.
Monday morning, that won't pay no bills, as the man says. But look, Joe, it's going to be interesting in the hospitality, the entertainment industry, and God knows everything else. 2021 is going to be a different year, and I hope we can get through it.
I do think a lot of industries will relook at the way they're doing things. You know what I mean? Be it people are working at home, be it hotel business, you know what I mean? It'd be, what's going to work, what's not going to work, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And there's probably been some good things that have come out of it, you know what I mean, as well, you know what I mean? So about people having to pre-book, prepay, and actually book when they're booking restaurants, that they have to book and pay, and that there'd be no argument about it, because that's always a problem in the hotel. People book large parties, especially for communals, confirmations, and big nights like that, and they don't turn up then, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's disciplined. It might have disciplined all that area, you know what I mean?
Could do, yeah. Because people don't know when the next time they're going to get out.
People know now. People have become so disciplined now. They ring the bar, said, I'll be in at 7:30. I have 4 people with me. Their names are, their numbers are. Like, it's amazing what people will do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just to get out.
So it's just to get out, So
It'll be
hopefully going
interesting.
forward, it'll be interesting, you know.
And we get
So
all the
I'm looking forward now to try and find something else. I might do a small business myself, or I might try and get a job again now in a hotel. You know what I mean? Because I had my own business for 17 years, so I really enjoyed that. You know what I mean?
had
So
your own businesses for a long time. Yeah, back
in
when you had
Derby
hair.
O'Grady, I had hair before I went into business, and I came out with no hair. So you know what I mean? So that's, I don't know, is that a good indictment of having your own business? But
I know. I still
it,
have
it,
mine, so I'm okay for
yeah,
another.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You never work too hard anyway. In
Well,
fairness
I
to you,
never.
you know. But
The only time I ever worked is when I had to go to the West Lodge. I had to go fixing everything that would always be broken, or a lead would have gone somewhere else, or a power lead, or just something would always go missing. But
no, no. But look,
it made it exciting.
that's why you were there. That's why we have geniuses there. You know what I mean? If we could do everything ourselves, we wouldn't be bringing you in. But no, I think it's going to be. I think people in the hotel business have done a great job keeping the show going. You know what I mean? And working under very difficult circumstances, and like trying to market or trying to come up with a sales plan or in this climate is impossible, because the minute you have it up, they say you can't go, or you can't. You know, the place is closed again, and so it's been definitely been an eventful time for people. You know.
I wonder, do you know what one thing this COVID has sort of taught people is it's given them time to check themselves. And I say this at most podcasts, but it's given them an actual time to sort of realize and go, well, hang on a second. Do I want to actually continue living my life like this? Or do I want to continue doing the way we're doing it? Like, it's given people sort of a place to sort of not exactly center themselves, but to sort of go, okay, they need to slow down and actually realize where they are with their lives right now. And that's the thing. They've sort of turned around and gone, okay, well, I'm not running at 400 miles every day. I can just come back, spend time with the family, and then go. Like, you'll see a lot of it. Like you said, I'll see a lot of people will start, if they have the choice to work from home. I think you'll get a lot more people working at home for a period of time. Like, they might work at home 3 days a week and do 2 days in the office or something like that. Because A, everybody's gotten kind of used to the fact of it now. And B, I think they kind of realize that what they're working for. I think now that people can sort of turn around and go, well, hang on a second. It was much better seeing my kids at 6:00 on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday than getting home at 9:30 on a Thursday and a Friday and they're already in bed. Do you know, vice versa, be it mom or dad or whoever. I think it's given them time to sort of reconnect with family all over the world. Like, you know, like, we're trying to find ways of contacting people, and I think now people are sort of getting used to having to chat, whether it be in podcasts or whether it be in anything at all, but they're making time for people again, if you know what I mean. Like, I think now with the likes of technology and stuff like that, you're able to sit down and say, right, 8:00 at night, I'm going to meet you for a chat, and we can have a chat and we can have a talk. And I feel that, like, that hopefully will stay going, that people make time for things again. I hope that stays, if you know what I mean.
I think you're right. You know what I mean? Even from my own point of view. Yeah, even my own point of view. Like, I was always flat to the deck all the time. You know what I mean? No time for nothing. And it's definitely given me, you know, a chance to reflect on what I've been doing over the last 30 years. You know, and like, I wouldn't change a day of it. But you know what I mean? It does reflect the amount of time that I spent working, especially when I had my own business, 6-7 days a week, and only barely fitting the family in. You know what I mean? You'd often wonder, oh, I ever had 4 kids. You know what I mean? Where did I have time for it? No, but you know, when you have your own business and you're rearing a young family, and like, definitely, I should have spent more time with them over the years. You know, there's no doubt about it. You know, and
but that's a reflection now, though.
Yeah, that's on reflection. But you know, at the time, it was all about trying to get, you know, enough money in, try to feed them and try to educate them, and make sure that when I was older, that they'd have something, that they wouldn't have to go through as much as hard times. You know what I mean? And like, my mother did the same for us. You know what I mean? She and my father, they just wanted us to have a better life. You know, but you know, on reflection, the hotel business is all consuming, though. It's every weekend, it's every bank holiday, it's every Christmas. And I never had any problem with that. And I still think the big thing in the hotel business, we are on when everyone else is off. And like, if you're in the hotel business, you've got to realize that you're working when everyone else is off. We are looking after people when they're on their time off. So you can't be off when they're off. You know what I mean? Like, that is a constant argument with staff and people in the hotel business. Oh, I want to be off the weekends. I only want to work Monday to Friday. That's not going to happen, because all the business in the hotel business happens generally at the weekends and on
Yeah.
bank holidays and at Christmas, because that's when people in
They're off.
the normal world are off. So that's it. That's our business. Our business is to look after people when they're off. So that's it.
Yeah.
It's simple. But I used to have terrible arguments with people over that, and still do to this day. But there is a happy balance, and I probably did, put too much to the work side, but it was for the right reasons.
Yeah,
But since I've been off now, I've been talking about learning how to play the guitar for 15 years, and I've actually now know how to play the guitar after all these years. And I got my daughter bought me an app on Rosetta Stone to learn Irish, because I've been talking about trying to learn Irish fluently for a long time.
Yeah.
So I'm in the middle of that. I learned how to turn on the oven at home, the washing machine.
Technology to beat the band. I was worried about this podcast. I know you and technology is. I was very worried. To be fair, you managed to crack this fairly good as well.
I know, but I had help. My son
come to your house.
My son was there to guide me through it. But Racky and the rest out to tell you, I'm always very good with technology. I used to go behind the desk there and start going into the computer at the front desk, and every one of the girls used to have had a nightmare. What's he doing? But I was always very confident myself. I knew what I was doing. Keep pressing enter. It'll come good. Keep pressing enter.
Switch it off and switch it back on again. It won't
That's
break.
it.
It'll be okay.
No, that's called a reboot. You don't switch it on. It's a reboot. Reboot works every time. Yeah. But definitely, people are reflecting after this year. So,
and I think it's good. I think it's good as a human race to sort of reset.
It is good.
Well, do you know what?
It's good, and I think families have come closer. Like this, I've had more meals with my family this year than I've had my whole life. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Sitting down, having dinner. I've never really been able to do that. Maybe on my days off when I was off, but normally I've never had that chance. And because my other sons then were away, but everyone was home.
Yeah.
So it was lovely. It was lovely.
Yeah.
And we'd argue away then. We'd be arguing away too, like families do. But it was grand.
Yeah.
It was nice.
Yeah.
It was
nice.
It's
like there's pluses and negatives for this pandemic or this coronavirus or whatever you want to call it. There's definitely pluses and minuses, but I hope that the pluses sort of outweigh the minuses at the end of the year. I hope sort of at the 31st of December we can kind of go, okay, this is what we've lived through. Let's take all the pluses from it and move forward then, rather than going full steam ahead come 9 o'clock, 1st of January, let's go. Because
people should say, look, we got stuck in it. We worked it out. We worked our way through it. We should be proud of ourselves, and hopefully, we're slightly better human beings at the end of it. You know what I mean? Hopefully,
Yeah, well, do you know what? Hopefully, every little counts. Every little bit. Every little helps.
Every little helps. That's Tesco. Yeah, every little helps.
Tesco's, isn't it? Yeah.
Every little helps.
Shout out to Tesco's if they want to sponsor us.
Yeah.
Free advertising going.
Free advertising. Yeah. €500. No bother. Christmas voucher. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll take as many pictures.
But the thing about the pandemic as well, I know I can't be talking about, but the supermarket side of things have had an excellent year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Medical supplies have had an excellent year. Like property has never been as good. Savings are at an all-time high. Like there's a lot of people who haven't done badly out of the pandemic, but just in our sector of the industry, like hospitality, entertainment, you know what I mean, all that, it's had a diabolical
it's
pandemic. Yeah, so that's just the nature of it, But people like online shopping, online meals delivery, like Pizza Hut and 4-star, and they've all had record years. You know what I mean? Netflix, Netflix is unbelievable,
Yeah. Have you found Netflix? I
have found Netflix. Yeah, I have watched more Netflix. I've watched so many different things. Unbelievable.
What's your favorite show on Netflix?
Breaking Bad. Absolutely.
You're into Breaking Bad.
And I actually, my son asked me to watch that for years. I said I couldn't be bothered. That's all about drugs and blah 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 blah. But I watched. It was absolutely brilliant. Brilliant.
I haven't got through the whole lot of. I think.
And Ozark. Then another one was Ozark. Absolutely brilliant as well.
Joe, you should watch Schitt's Creek. Schitt's Creek, not Schmitt's Creek. Schitt's Creek. Yeah. It's very, very funny. You'd really like it.
The other one that my wife was watching is The Crown. She's watching The Crown.
The Crown.
That's The Crown. Yeah. I
watched The Queen Bandit the other week. That was very good.
That's brilliant. The chess, about the chess.
Yeah,
That's
true story,
absolutely
that.
brilliant. That was
Yeah.
excellent. Yeah, excellent. Yeah.
See, we've never had a conversation about TV before.
No, become a real modern man now. I'm into my Netflix. I'm into my, everything.
Everything, technology, eat it, heart it.
Technology. Yeah. No,
Right.
so it's been good. It's been good.
Good. And everybody's all right, and everybody below in Kerry. A Dublin man in Kerry turned the wrong way at the Red Cow, huh? And just kept on driving.
Kept on driving. I came to Kerry for love. You know what I mean? And I stayed here.
Or
Kerry's
she's-
a great county. Kerry's a great county. Killarney is definitely the capital of tourism in Ireland. But West Cork is definitely has everything that Kerry hasn't got. It's got the coastal. West Cork is very underrated, and Bantry is very underrated.
Mhm.
I tell you, Bantry. When you see the beautiful Bantry house, you've got those beautiful walks. You've got the the airfield. There's so much going on down there. It's fabulous. You know what I mean?
This is why this whole podcast could try to start, because we started having people on, and like even everyday people in Bantry, we've got some of the best people. Like we've got so many untold stories in Bantry that like we've world record holders, like weightlifters, we've got MMA fighters, we've got like artists that are selling thousands on Spotify, and like from a small town of like 4,500 people, maybe 5,000. I don't know the population of Bantry. Like there's a lot going on in this small little town, like. And
I think that's got some massive potential there. I think Pantry House is one of the most iconic places in Ireland as a tourist. Just the views from there and just the architecture, and like with a bit of more help maybe from the government, they could really develop that. To be a magnificent tourist place.
It is.
So I just think the beauty of Bantry too, the Bantry Bay, and you know what I mean, the new marina there. Like there's a lot going on there. In fairness. And then you've got Skull in Ballydehob, and you know what I mean, Rosscarbery. Like they're fabulous places. Kilquehan, all out there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So
there's a lot to be said for our little.
It is. There's a lot to be said. Home is where the heart is, isn't that what they say? Home is where the heart is.
What's happening with Irish soccer? I know you're a big soccer fan. Everything's just gone to the bin.
I was hoping you wouldn't mention that. You know what I mean? I'm an ardent supporter, as you know. I've gone to more matches. I've invested more money. I said after they were beaten by Denmark 6-2 or whatever it was there 3 years ago in the Aviva, I spent €240 on tickets, brought all my lads, and we were absolutely incandescent with rage. You know what I mean? The way that game ended. But we went again. But the current team are in a terrible state,
They don't even have a team.
They wouldn't score. Me mother now, and they get a great laugh in the West End because used to always mention, me mother would do better up front than what they're doing. If you're watching the match last night, there was 3 open goals. Now, if me mother was on there with her bad leg, she would have scored one of them, definitely. Definitely.
Not a bother.
But I think Stephen Kenny does need. I think he has got the right approach. But I just hope that that the players give him enough respect. I worry about the Premiership players having enough faith in him, And like already Matt Doherty has kind of turned sour on him, and like they've played 7 games, scored 1 goal, and they got 2 draws. Like that's pathetic.
Yeah. But then you have to look at the structure of it too, because like no one nowadays, when I was growing up, it was like World Cup '94. Like I remember USA '94 when I was living in Tala at the time, and like people were just taking TVs out onto the street and they were watching it, like power cables connected. And everybody, every house were painted green, white, and orange. Everybody wanted to be either Paul McGrath, fucking Roy
success breeds success. Success breeds success.
That's it. But see, you got to look at now all the young fellas. They're all into their rugby now. And it's all rugby. They all want to be Ronan McGarra, or they all want to be,
but I think it's cyclical. I think the Irish team will come around again, but they've got to learn to change the way they're playing. They've got to score goals. You only win games by scoring goals. To score goals, you have to have a positive way of going forward. You know what I mean? And like the players, like last night, you had Wycombe Wanderers, Portsmouth, and Luton Town up the front 3 for Ireland last night. Like they're not quality players, but see, he had 17 players missing last night, so he needs to be given time. But there is a problem with the quality of the players that Ireland has at the moment. You see the game against England, like they had their second team out, and they were all stars. Every one of them was a superstar.
Yeah.
So that's what you did. Ireland is always battling against the Premiership in England. You know what I mean? And like you see, two of our own boys, Grealish and Damien Rice, that we reared, fed, and taught them how to play soccer, and then they go and play for England. Like, that's very disappointing.
But sure, like with all due respect, like the opportunities for them are so much better over there. Like, I'm as Irish and patriotic as the next person, but like if you're looking at your future, you kind of have to go.
Yeah, but Grealish might get his place on the first team now. But Damien Rice, they won't be there all the time. If they played with Ireland, they would be superstars. You know?
Yeah.
Like, they can play their club football in England, fair enough, because that's where the opportunity is. But internationally, you know what I mean? It's very disappointing that both of them decided to play for England. But it was their own fault. We should have played them as internationals and not given them a chance to wonder. It was our own fault, and we got what we deserved. You know, it's like Cork in the football. Like, if Cork has success, like that win last Sunday, now will do such a massive injection for Cork football.
Who are they against?
They're playing the Kingdom there last Sunday. Rory Dean and the lads there, they did a great job. You know what I mean? But you know, they hung in there. Like, I thought they were gone. I thought they were gone, but in fairness, they hung in there and they kept to their plan, and the conditions were atrocious. But that'll be an awful boost now for Cork football.
Huge, massive.
Like, Cork has been one. Cork has always been one of the top 5 counties in Ireland, but in the last few years, they've slipped and slipped and slipped and slipped. You know.
Sure. What 2010 was? 2010 was when they won it.
I can't remember the last time Cork won, to tell the truth. But you know, last year they started playing a lot more positive. They had a very good game against Kerry last year. They played very well against Dublin. And definitely the whole idea, they were playing much better football, much more positive football. You know?
Yeah, that's it.
But you know, they'll get all the kids behind them. All the young fellas will support them now because when they're successul, you know?
That's it. Right, we better let you get back to your wife. So we have, at the end of every podcast...
I'm a grandfather now. I probably have to go to bed now. I do. I'm kind of... It's getting past my bedtime.
What time is it? 10:15. Yeah, you want to be in bed now at this stage.
A cup of cocoa now. A cup of cocoa and go to bed. You know.
Put on the Late Late Show there. I'm sure you have the Late Late Show recorded from last week.
You will, of course. That's it. I'll watch a few shows of that. Yeah.
Or go watch Schitt's Creek. I'm telling you, you'll like Schitt's Creek. It's really
name.
funny.
You sure that's the right name? It's Schitt's Creek.
It is. I always call it Schitt's Creek, but it's not. It's Schitt's Creek. Honestly, it's great. It's really fun.
I'll take your recommendation on that. Okay.
The guy gets into the hotel business. It's very funny. You'll like it. Okay. You will like it. You'll go, yeah, I can see why Terence likes this. It is a great, great show. But at the end of every podcast, we have the 30 seconds rapid fire quiz, right? So we have 10 questions that you must answer as fast as possible, right? So we're nearly...
Can I say pass?
Oh, sure. What? No, you can't phone a friend.
I'll make you up an answer. Okay. Yeah. Is there any money in this? No?
No, there's no money in anything I do. You know this.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm getting broke all the time.
Go on, so. Right, go on.
Here we go. So, phone call or text message, Mr. Gill?
Phone call. I don't believe in texting. I think it's very rude. Anyway, next.
What's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie is Shawshank Redemption.
It's a good movie. McDonald's or Burger King?
Oh, definitely McDonald's.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how good of a driver are you?
I'm an excellent driver. 9.
The strangest
place that could be debated, but I say 9. Yeah.
The strangest place you've made a phone call?
Strangest place in a toilet, Houston Station. Yeah.
A person you'd like to have dinner with, dead or alive?
Dead or alive. A person. What was the comedian there? Robin
Williams?
Robin Williams, yeah.
He would have been good.
He's such a funny man.
Yeah. Do you keep your ketchup in the fridge or outside the fridge?
Oh, always outside the fridge.
Outside. That's a Dublin thing.
No, it's sacrilege. It's like putting red wine in the fridge. You can't put your ketchup in the fridge. Jesus.
Yeah, I've always said it, but being the only man in the house, I lose that every time. Yeah. Would you like to live forever or have the power of invisibility?
Live forever, power of invisibility. Power of invisibility, I think, yeah.
Have a bit of crack. Do you eat soup or drink it?
Eat soup or drink it? That's a good question. Eat soup or drink it? I think you drink soup. That's my own thing, you know. Yeah.
And what's the one thing?
I don't get to bowl up and drink it. I use a spoon, but you don't eat soup. I don't. I've never understood that.
The one thing that annoys you the most in the world.
The one thing that annoys me in the world: checkout girls talking to each other when I'm trying to check out. Chewing gum. Actually, people in the West say there's 2 things I hate: biro stuck in the hair. That's a real no-no. Yeah. And chewing gum. Yeah. Chewing gum when you're talking to people. It's got to be the rudest thing ever.
Yeah.
I cannot stand that. People remember me for that.
Yeah, you know what? We will remember you for a lot more than that, but we will definitely remember you for
Chewing
something.
gum, my God. And they say it's good for your teeth. But my mother always said to me when I was a young fella, if you swallow that, it'll throttle you. So, I mean,
your insides and you won't ever get rid of it.
That's it. Yeah,
You'll be trying to shit that out when you're 50 and it'll still be
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, and it'll be your own fault.
Your own, don't come running.
I know, but I hate people chewing gum.
Why was the pen in the hair? Why was the pen in the hair used to bother you?
Oh no, but because it's very unhygienic. It looks terrible anyway. Your waitress comes and she's taking your hand and said, "Yeah, what would you like?" You know, God Almighty, it looks dreadful.
It wasn't jealousy. It wasn't jealousy. No, you couldn't just.
No, well, it's a long time since I stuck a pen in my hair or anywhere else. But anyway, you know.
Pat, it's been an absolute pleasure catching up with you, my friend. Love to all the family, and thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it, and we'll do it again real soon. And do you know what? Say hello to your grandson. It was his son, isn't it?
Grandson, Jack. Yeah.
Say all the best.
Jack Darrell Smith. That's his name. I'd like to wish all my friends, in case I don't get a chance, to wish you and your family and all my friends in Pantry a very happy Christmas and a happy New Year, and maybe a more productive year next year going forward. So thank you. We'll
leave it on that one, Pat. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Frozen in this moment, the last, and I know it. Think about the winners with hands with the coldest. Think about hand out, shit, you're still growing. Think about the world, how we didn't even notice.